I'd been with Dan for like 2 years and we were together for 3 years, and in a lot of ways we really clicked, but one point of conflict was that he always took jokes too far. 2 weeks ago was my birthday, and I got a text at work asking me to come over to his after work because we needed to talk. I replied, "Talk about what?" And he said he just didn't think things were working between us, so I had a cry with my work bestie in the bathroom, knowing that was pretty much a breakup text, and feeling hurt he'd drop it on me by text on my birthday at work. I was angry enough that I let my friend take my phone so I wouldn't say anything I regret, and she ended up just sending K and boy bye and then blocking him. My boss came into the bathroom and found me crying. I said I'd just been dumped by text and it was my birthday too, and she gave me the rest of the day off work and told me to file it as sick leave, which was super kind of her. So I got in my car and went to his house knowing he'd still be at work, and I grabbed all my crap because I honestly didn't feel like I had it in me to play the game of trying to get an ex to sort out all your crap and give it back to you over time. I just wanted to get my crap and go home. So I left my copy of the keys on his table when I left. I met my friends for drinks and we had a long talk where I vented about how sudden it was, how it felt out of nowhere because we had plans to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas together with his family, how we were starting to talk about getting engaged, and how I wanted to unblock him and actually talk. But my friends were like, "Not tonight, you've been drinking, if you still want to in the morning," which I feel was good advice under the circumstances. But when I called my ex the next day, he was getting upset with me about how I didn't come by to talk because, get this, it was a damn prank. He was also upset I was ignoring his calls and texts and wasn't home when he came to my apartment that night. He thought it would be funny to send me a "we need to talk" text, and when I show up, take me out on a fancy dinner on a boat and out to an exclusive rooftop bar and basically surprise me with a really good night. I didn't buy it at first. I was like, "You can't just change your mind about breaking up and make some crap up." He said it was seriously just a joke and that he hadn't meant it to come off as a breakup text. I said I wasn't interested in being with someone who dumped me over text, whether it was just a prank bro or not, and I reblocked him. I've since told all our friends that he dumped me over text on my birthday and then tried to get me back by saying it was a birthday prank or some crap. This makes him angry because he says he never dumped me, but everyone thinks he did. He's angry that I'd throw it all away like that and that I'd lie to our mutual friends. Am I the idiot for being like, okay, when my ex sent me a breakup text on my birthday as a prank? Not the idiot. You rolled like the queen you are. Consider it the greatest birthday gift he could give you, removing his presence from your life. If he was willing to go to those lengths for a prank, what else would he be willing to do? You dodged a bullet there. His behavior and attitude are massive red flags, and he has nobody to blame but himself. There is something seriously wrong with someone who would think it's funny to make you anxious and hurt on your birthday. There are plenty of harmless ways he could have pulled off a surprise, even if that was true. Instead, he did something vicious and mean and then got angry when you had a normal reaction. He tried to make his behavior your fault. You dodged a bullet. This is not a prank. It's just cruel. Good riddance. Screw that dude. Of course, everyone believes you. They've seen his stupid jokes before, and you have the receipts if anyone has any doubts. Kudos to your friends for being there for you and for keeping your phone locked that night. You've got better things to do than play games like that. Bravo for shedding off the dead weight and treating it the way you have. I have a son, Ryan, 22. Ryan has a wife, Holly, 22. They got married and moved in together around 4 months ago after dating for 3 years. I'm really happy for them. There's just a small problem though. Holly has recently started making posts on social media with jokes about how horrible mothers-in-law are, all the time. When seeing them, I thought I'd done something to upset Holly. I asked her about it, and she insisted that I hadn't upset her and just posted them because she thought they were funny. I asked Ryan about it and he said that Holly never seemed upset at me and told me I'm overthinking it. But Holly keeps making these posts. The rest of my family have even been asking me if everything is okay between me, Ryan and Holly because they've seen the posts too. The last straw was when Holly posted about arguments with monsters-in-law. Now everyone in my family thinks I argued with Holly when that didn't even happen. I asked Holly about it again and she said that once again, she just posted it because she thought it was funny, not anything personal to me. I told Holly that she was making me uncomfortable and making my family think I was being horrible to her. Holly said that's not her problem and that people need to learn how to take a joke. I asked Holly to stop making these posts because people aren't going to interpret them that way. Holly said I'm being unreasonable and told me I couldn't tell her what to do and said I was a bossy jerk. Not the idiot. Holly is 100% doing this on purpose. If she has an issue with you, she should talk to you about it like a reasonable adult instead of making passive-aggressive posts. Also, allowing everyone else in your family to believe that you had an argument with her that didn't happen is incredibly manipulative on Holly's part. OP, fight fire with honey though if you use social media. Post some really nice things about family and make sure she's included in that. Have a nice visit. Post about how thankful you are for visits with family. Post those nice, inspirational posts about how daughters-in-law are bonus daughters and treasures and perfect for whatever reason. Don't go mad, just a little sprinkle among your other things to make it clear that you value her. Start getting snap-happy at family gatherings, even if not taking photos of the people, a picture of the food, and another lovely meal with son and daughter-in-law tagged. So when she posts her nonsense, people will be able to see the disparity between them. But you have the receipts. Just don't go overboard. That looks like overcompensating or hiding something. The trick is to keep it subtle, genuine, and occasional. This is the way. Don't just kill with kindness, annihilate with compassion. Leave no survivors. Holly does sound like she's trying to stir up drama, but the best way to deal with that is not to give them the drama they want. Make yourself untouchable by not giving her any ammo whatsoever. She sounds like she wants an evil mother-in-law just to be part of the in-laws from the Bad Place Club or something. I'm 22 male. My nephew is pre-tween and my brother is 23. I have a special nickname for my nephew. I call him Blip. I call him that because he was a tiny baby when he was born, and when I first held him, my dad said, "He's barely a blip on your radar." That was a joke because I'm pretty tall and my nephew looked extra tiny when I was holding him. Since then, Blip became my nickname for him. I still call him that, and he doesn't like it when anyone other than me calls him that. The issue happened earlier today. My siblings, they're technically my step-siblings, but I consider them siblings, and I were visiting my dad and stepmom. I got there at the same time as my brother. I walked in and said hello to everyone. I said, "Hey Blip," to my nephew. My brother, nephew's uncle, walked in after me and said, "Hey Blip," to my nephew as well. My nephew didn't like that and politely asked my brother not to call him that. That started an argument between my brother and me that ended with him asking me not to call my nephew Blip anymore. I refused, and my brother called me a pompous idiot. The families are pretty split on this. My dad and older sister, my nephew's mom, think I should be allowed to have a special nickname for my nephew, but my stepmom and younger sister think that if they can't call him Blip, then I shouldn't be allowed to either. So, am I the idiot for refusing to stop using my nephew's nickname? Editing to add, after the argument between my brother and me, I asked my nephew if he was still okay with me using his nickname. He said he still wanted to be called Blip by me. Not the idiot. The only opinion that matters is your nephew's. Everything else is just noise. Why is there a family debate over this? Why are the families involved? Why did bro just not stop and apologize when your nephew told him not to call him the nickname? Your bro certainly is, and your families are out of line. It seems like one of the most common things in families too. I have a nickname I only accept from my sister and she has one she only accepts from me. They're indicative of a relationship only we have, so no one else even tries to use them as they don't have that specific relationship with either of us. It feels like the family is trying to ensure they get a piece of the relationship between OP and his nephew, which is just sad as bonds should be unique. Exactly. Your nephew doesn't like it when anyone else calls him Blip. If your brother keeps calling him Blip, you'll only teach him that others can disregard his identity as they wish. So anyone else who calls him that without his permission is the idiot. I'm amazed that your brother, who's 23, doesn't understand what is obvious to his child. My husband's nephew is the middle of 3 kids and has a sensory processing disorder. This impacts how he eats. His diet is far more strict and limited than others in the family, and he rarely gets to eat a full meal outside of his home because most people will just expect him to eat whatever they're willing to provide. With the help of my husband's sister and brother-in-law, my husband and I have always made sure he has a meal when we host a family dinner. We even went out and bought dividing plates so he could have a safe meal since he couldn't eat food that touched each other. Typically, 2 dinners will be made, one that everyone else will enjoy and that tends to be popular, and then one with his safe foods. My sister-in-law and her husband have always been so happy to have someone in the family who wants to make their son feel important enough to be included in that way, and to make him feel less strange because his parents have to bring snacks for him to other people's houses normally. Not all of the family has been understanding of nephew. Dear husband's other sister has commented that nephew is coddled and should be eating healthier and more expansively than he does, and that her sister and brother-in-law are letting the kids rule the roost. Their other 2 kids do not eat the same as nephew. They have larger diets that are more in line with what she thinks he should be eating, and I've pointed that out to her before, but she thinks her nephew is just as capable as his siblings. Sister-in-law and mother-in-law, the last time we hosted, complained that nephew had such a full meal made for him when they also had a full meal made for them. My husband told them he deserved a full meal. They said if he could get noodles, they should be able to get them too. I replied that we only made enough for nephew. They told me they wanted noodles. Nephew was upset, so my husband told his mom and sister to knock it off. They suggested we take the noodles from nephew and give them to them. My husband said they could leave if they kept it up. After dinner, I told them they were not getting nephew's safe foods and that everything provided in their meal was their preference, so why were they acting like that? They said it was rude to provide food at a dinner party that not all of the guests could eat. I said they don't mind doing that every time nephew eats at their house. They told me it was different. I told them to accept the food we provided for them, or they didn't need to come, but I wouldn't take from nephew to give it to them. They said I was a rude host and inappropriate. My husband made them leave. Am I the idiot for this? Next time you host, serve nephew's bland, safe foods to everyone. When people question it, tell them that mother-in-law and sister-in-law insisted that it was rude to serve nephew a different meal not provided to everyone. Since nephew can't eat what you would have provided for everyone else, it naturally follows that the only way to make mother-in-law and sister-in-law happy is to serve everyone food that your nephew can eat. Bon appetit! And be sure to thank mother-in-law and sister-in-law for simplifying the menu for everyone. Don't forget to ensure that the portion sizes are the same. Get matching divider plates and kiddie cutlery too. We have to be fair, you know, and since your nephew couldn't possibly finish an adult portion, everyone else will have to eat smaller portions as well. You are so unbelievably not the idiot in this situation. Good on you and your husband for being good human beings. I can't believe some people would act so childishly. I'm so happy your nephew has people in his corner. Don't stop fighting for him. We used to spend Christmas with mother-in-law. Apparently, every year she would wake up, do breakfast and presents with her husband, be in a great mood, and then at exactly 12 p.m, she would burst into tears and cry until we arrived. So about 2 hours while she was cooking. We didn't know this. So one year her husband decided to experiment and he messed with the clock. Mother-in-law never cried, and when we showed up she was still in pyjamas, dinner wasn't ready, and her husband used this as evidence she was looking at the clock and crying on command. Mother-in-law whined about how being around us on holidays upset her, we have so many issues, it's such a chore, etc. I told her fine, we would never do another holiday if that's how she felt. At this point her husband seemed to feel bad and tried to backtrack, but mother-in-law told him she was cool with it and liked just being with him. The more I thought about it, the more hurt I was. She treated us like some burden, so I decided I felt the same about her and that I would never host her again. She is banned from our house. There hasn't been an issue in a few years, as my husband understands how rude they both were, and my mother-in-law seems cool with it. However, I recently had our first child, and my husband wants his mom at our upcoming event to introduce our child to everyone. I absolutely do not want her in my house after I was made to feel like such a burden in hers. I said it was a hard no, and my husband is sulking and being distant. In mother-in-law's defense, she doesn't really care and hasn't pushed it. She is allowed to meet the baby, which she knows, and she doesn't even like most of the people attending, my family and friends, so I'm standing firm. I also don't want to see her husband as he acts like it was just some experiment and not a big deal. Edit. I brought stuff for some years and she never ate it. You are the idiot. So your mother-in-law put a ton of effort in every year to make you all feel welcome until she finally realised that the pressure was making her miserable and admitted that she just didn't enjoy doing it. You decided that her unwillingness to stress herself out and make herself miserable every year on Christmas warranted a permanent ban from all family events ever. Grow up! This is ridiculous. People should be allowed not to feel like they have to play host every single year. They should be allowed to enjoy their holidays. Your reaction was childish and over the top, especially considering the event in question is one you're planning to have anyway, not some special effort you're making just for your mother-in-law. Not the idiot. Your mother-in-law doesn't give two craps about you and your husband. This is about your husband, who desperately wants his mother to be interested and is hoping that this baby will open his mother's eyes and make more effort because he was hurt about Christmas. She hurt you both, and understandably you put up boundaries to protect yourself from being hurt by her. However, your husband's stance on boundaries softened because of the baby, and as much as he knows how his mom is, he wants his mom to have a certain level of relationship with his kid as he envisioned. Everyone's the idiot here. Mother-in-law sucks because she didn't use her words to say that hosting Christmas was overwhelming for her when she really just wanted to spend it with her husband and crying on time. Her husband, rather than trying to figure out and help mother-in-law find the words, played a mean trick on her, so he sucks too. You had the opportunity to be the hero in this scenario, but you weren't. You decided it was time for revenge, and if she was going to slight you, you would get even and ban her from your house. Now you have a child, and she is the grandmother, and you still want her banned, putting your husband between a rock and a hard place. Kinda surprised you and mother-in-law don't get along better based on how similar you seem to be.